Hello and welcome to Morning Brew. Today coming to you from another place. You should probably guess by just having a look at the plug sockets behind me there. Might not be in Durham at the moment, hence the difference. Anyway, I don't know how good the internet is where we're staying, so basically if this works, great. If it doesn't, Phil's back tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. So let's get into it. We're talking today, chiefly, we're going to mention Trump in a moment. First of all, let's talk about this dodgy deal that Rishi Sunak has made with the filthy, psychopathic, extinctionist fossil fuel companies. We're talking about the BPs, the Shells, the Exxons of the world. He has given over 100 new licenses for drilling for oil and gas in the North Sea. 100 new licenses. And he has said that there are hundreds more in the pipeline. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit echoey, I don't have my usual mic today. Hello to everyone in the chat. Graham or Phil today. It should be me, I think. I don't know, is that what it says on the title of the show? I don't know. I hope it does. I hope this is going out. Why have Labour not committed to revoking hundreds of new drilling licenses announced by Sunak? Surely not. Revoking licenses will completely destroy the Labour's green commitment. I'm very frustrated. So this is a conversation that I think I want to have with Phil, and to be honest with you, if I'd been in the UK, I would have had this conversation with him yesterday. I didn't see Sunak on LBC, that was about half an hour ago, wasn't it, in the UK. I didn't see it because I was trying to get everything sorted out for this stream now. And like I say, I hope you can hear me. Lee Corn saying kitchen echo. Yeah, I know. I was going to run it through my headphones, so it was using the headphone mic, but for some reason the plug-in power on my camcorder seems impossible to turn off, so it just makes horrific noises. So I just thought we'll leave it at this. Maybe tomorrow I might do this outside. We'll see how we get going. We will see how we go. We'll see how we go. So anyway, look, here's the headline. So Adam Bienkov of the Byline Times, he's actually the Byline Times political editor, he posted yesterday about an emphasis deal with British Petroleum, or Beyond Petroleum as they've been called for the last 30 years, hilariously enough. Still haven't got Beyond Petroleum. You know, that's your aspiration to go beyond petroleum. BP have completely failed at their own name. It's like Shell not really selling any shells anymore, although they used to. Funny story. Anyway, but yeah, so $1.5 billion deal between British Petroleum, BP, and, or Beyond Petroleum, whatever it means now, and Emphasis. Now, Emphasis, you might have heard of them before. They're a company who's still trading with Russia, and it is owned by Rishi Sunak, the richest Prime Minister we've ever had. It's owned by his father-in-law, and his wife still gets dividends from the money they make, which is a lot. So Emphasis has just been given a deal with BP worth £1.5 billion. Also, Emphasis has been in receipt of £172 million of taxpayers' money over the last few years. So that's nice, isn't it? While Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister, while Rishi Sunak was Chancellor of the Exchequer, the company his wife's dad owns has been given £172 million worth of contracts. It's a bit like when Theresa May was Prime Minister and Group 4 were getting contracts. Group 4 famously owned by, or ran by her husband, wasn't it? Can someone check in the chat? Someone check in the chat, just someone check for me. That'd be great. Anyway, so yeah, and even better, the CEO of Shell is now sitting on Rishi Sunak's newly created Business Council, which is convening to find out how to make more money for Britain to get our economy back on its feet. Which the only way we can possibly do that is not by taking away the ban on onshore wind farms, having hundreds of new wind farms on land and in the sea built over the next few years, and then exporting our energy that we create, which isn't that difficult because we have got energy conduits going across the channel. So, you know, the infrastructure is there to do this kind of thing if we so wish. No, we're gonna give private companies massive kickbacks to go and drill oil and gas, which I assume we will still need in 100 years' time. I can't see in 100 years' time that we won't need plastics anymore. What do you think? Do you think we'll still need plastics? Do you think we'll still need tarmac to go on the roads? Do they come from oil? Like, if we take all the oil, if all the oil is gone, then the plastics we can make with vegetable oil, I guess, is okay. But I don't think it's the same sort of lives forever standard of the plastic we get from oil, which is, you know, probably a good thing, I guess, because then it won't pollute the oceans for the next few millennia. However, for things like medical applications, things like that, I can see there being a problem using poor-grade polymers, low-grade polymers. This isn't stuff that I'm talking about putting your shopping into, obviously. Insider trading, revolving door, morning Phil. Am I Phil? Did I put Phil down as the title of this show? Did I put Morning Brew with Phil Morehouse? Sorry, my fault. I will change that afterwards. So you're saying it's wrong for someone to become Chancellor or unelected MP just to pursue policies that make your family rich while causing the death and suffering for the people you govern? Yes, William, that's exactly what I'm saying. 100%. So, we live in a country in which we have a Prime Minister who was not elected. In fact, the ridiculous election that did take place, which you could vote in if you were a Tory party member, even if you were Russian. Yeah, so Russian oligarchs got to vote who would be our next Prime Minister, and obviously they voted for Liz Truss because they knew she would be a disaster and sink the British economy, which she did. Funnily enough, she did that. How long was Kwasi Kwarteng? Yeah, there's a book by Kwasi Kwarteng, I think, called Ghosts of Empire, and it's worth having a read, or at least a peruse. There's a bit where he goes off on one about how the empire was very ad hoc and didn't really have a overarching plan or anything like that. And he talks in it about like how unorganised it was, and fiscally irresponsible it was, and all this kind of stuff. It's funny that. Oh, Ryan Brown has just put £5 in the super chat box. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ryan. Tories being corrupt. I would never believe my eyes. Don't spend it all at once. Yeah, but this is serious. I mean, this isn't just the usual cronyism that we get with the Tories, like when. Was it Grant Shapps? Who was it who allowed Richard Desmond, the porn purveyor, the purveyor of porn in the Express until recently, to build on land in Tower Hamlets and thereby avoid a massive amount of tax that they would otherwise have to pay back to the Tower Hamlets borough to beautify Tower Hamlets, create social housing, things like that. I think he involved over 100 million, was it, that he was going to have to spend on that, and that was rushed through. And forgive me if I can't remember the exact names of the ministers responsible for this kind of stuff, because all of them are on the make, all of them are on the take, all of them are corrupt as hell. And yeah, but what I'm trying to say here, this isn't like a property deal. This isn't just jobs for the boys. This isn't a bit of pork barrel politics. No. The Tories can't even do pork barrel politics. Pork barrel politics, I think, is the idea that you help your own constituency, and that's all you help. You don't help the country. You just promise stuff for the folks back home, get yourself elected, and then turn up in Washington and say, "Hey, I want all this free stuff for my community, my people that I represent." Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the future of the human race. And I want you to have a little think right now, or even a look if you've got a map in front of you in the room somewhere. Maybe you've got one on the wall. Have a look at the map of the world, any projection you like, and you'll see there's an equator in the middle. That's the line in the middle, right? We're all familiar with that. Along the equator, really, really fertile, hot all year round, lots of rain all year round, very fertile, right? And then to the north of that, you've got the Tropic of Cancer, and to the south of it you've got the Tropic of Capricorn, which is the because the Earth's on a bit of a tilt, so the sun's hitting a particular point. So essentially, if you are standing on Midsummer's Day on the Tropic of Cancer, the sun will be directly above your head, and it won't go any more north than that. That's the furthest extent of the sun that it can get to, where the sun will be exactly above your head at noon. Same with the Tropic of Capricorn, right? What's interesting about these areas, the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, they don't have that same level of heat all year round like they do at the equator, where it's hot all year round and therefore very lush and tropical. So you think of like Ecuador, Panama, Colombia, Gabon, Congo. It's a very dense jungle. They're not deserts. Okay? However, if you have a look at those lines where the Tropic of Cancer is and the Tropic of Capricorn is, what they have is very, very, very hot summers and cold winters. And what that means is nothing grows. You can't really grow stuff in that environment because the soil's too hot to grow stuff in the summer, and then in the winter it's too cold. Pretty much that's the gist of it. And that's why we have things like the deserts, which all seem to fall somewhere on either the Tropic of Capricorn or the Tropic of Cancer. So the Sahara Desert, the Atacama Desert, the Australian Desert, they're all there. Have a look. And the Namibian Desert, have a look. Have a look where the line goes through and go, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then to the north and the south, respectively, of those lines, you have the temperate climes, like Europe and North America, where you can kind of grow a lot of stuff. But that goes up so far towards the Arctic Circle, and once you get too close to the Arctic Circle, once again, it's a death zone. It's an area of Arctic tundra where you can't really grow stuff. So the habitable areas of the Earth are kind of squished between the sort of the Tropic of Capricorn, Tropic of Cancer, and the Arctic Antarctic circles, and you know, around the equator. The way things are going with climate change, that desertification, that area that is going to get messed up by these really, really hot summers where you can't grow anything, it's too hot, destroys the crops, and you can't grow anything in the winter because it's too cold, is going to encroach more and more north and more south, which means that there's going to be less area to farm on. That's as far as I understand it, all right? And I'm not a farmer, I'm not a geologist, I'm not anything really. I'm just a strange person talking to you through a camera. Well, I should be on holiday with my family, but that's fine. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I said I'll do it. But there you go. What was this? The gay desert where you live. Whatever, mate. He can disappear. Right. So the problem is that humans need food, and we need a lot of it. At the moment, we have enough food on the planet to actually feed about 10 billion people. As the amount of area that we can actually farm on decreases, the amount of people that we can feed decreases. And once that goes below a critical level, people will start fighting over food. And this is the big worry. And we've also got another thing along with climate change, which is going to affect things in the future, which is that we're running out of nitrates. Trying to find clever ways of putting nutrients in the soil. You've seen The Martian, the movie with Matt Damon. Why can't he just, you know, grow stuff on Mars? Well, first of all, it's too cold. Secondly, there's no nutrients in the soil. The soil is just sand. It's just, you can't grow stuff on a beach, really, realistically. It's just not something you can do. You can't grow some crops on a beach somewhere. You won't get very far with the salt water and everything else. Well, maybe you can grow some palm trees. That's about it. Palm trees are very, very hardy, unusually hardy. I don't think he had any palm trees in his back pocket to put on Mars. So with the lack of any new nitrates being found, or the nitrates that were easy to find, like on Nauru Island, a place like that, and Ocean Island or Banaba Island now all gone, we've got some hard to find nitrates, and like I said before, we still need oil. We need oil for farming. And we will for the foreseeable. I can't see a point where we won't need oil. So the idea of digging out the ground now, where it's safely stored away, and burning it is incredibly frustrating to me. What's also more frustrating is that Rishi Sunak announced on Monday fresh support for 2 carbon capture and storage clusters in Scotland and Northern England. And I've discussed this before, but if you want to tell me in the chat how this works, I am all ears, because I don't get it. I just can't get my head around it. The idea that we pump liquid out the ground in the North Sea, we then put that on a tanker or through a pipeline, that comes into one of those distillation tower things, that gets separated out into the heavier stuff to make tar, and then the lighter stuff to make paraffin or whatever. Basically all that gets separated out, and then you put it in another truck, you drive it to your petrol station, the global petrol station, goes into a tank under the petrol station, which means that the land that the petrol station was once on can never be used for anything else ever again without a very expensive clean-up operation. Fun fact, when you see some things at the side of the road where there used to be a petrol station, and there's nothing there now because you can't build on it without clearing out all that, you know, explosive gas that may or may not be under the ground. Anyway, that's another matter. And then you pump that liquid into your car, and then you burn it in your car. How do you capture the carbon? That's what I don't get. I don't get how you're burning it at that point, right, in your internal combustion engine. How do you capture it? How do you do that? Okay, so it's not just this bullshit about carbon capture that's been annoying me this week. Also, Rishi Sunak's on the side of the motorists, which is strange because he goes everywhere by helicopter or private jet. But he's on the side of the motorists, and what motorists want more than anything in this world is to drive at 30 in a 20 zone. Now, 20 zones only really exist because someone has been killed on that road, or it's outside of school. There's usually a very good reason for it. I want there to be more low traffic neighbourhoods. I think they're a great idea. I hate cars. The older I get, the crankier I get, the fact that I've travelled to so many places, and yet everywhere I go, it's all the same. Like, it just looks the same. Like, because it's all, every human habitation on the planet pretty much has been built around the needs of a car. A car. Like, not the people who live there, not the people who want to go and shop there or buy things and go home. No, the car. The physique, the needs, the wants of a car. And now Rishi Sunak is like, I'm on the side of motorists. Yeah, I've never driven a car, I don't need to. I've always had a chauffeur. I don't have any working class friends. Yeah, anyway, that's Rishi Sunak for you. But yeah, very, very, very frustrating. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the chat for a moment because I feel like I've been neglecting you for too long. Also, which isn't helpful, I'm dropping frames. That's not great, is it? Sorry everyone for dropping frames. Where's my phone? I'm going to turn my phone off the Wi-Fi. We're actually in an area where there's no phone signal at all. But yeah, oh, that made it marginally better for a moment, and now it's bad. Oh, it's good, it's bad, it's good, it's bad. Well, I can see that I'm dropping frames. Sorry about this. Balloons in the exhaust with the carbon net. Graham, the UK is sending email to Europeans with pre-settled status. Strategy to get. I'm talking about climate change today. Hang on a sec. I read somewhere our grids can't cope with large amounts of wind energy. Wind turbines frequently have to be switched off as grid can't cope. Well, the grid does need to be renewed, but as far as I'm aware, our grid is owned by a consortium from Qatar and China. Yeah, so not necessarily countries that want to invest massively in climate saving things. Yeah, a vertical farming will be the future. With robots going up and down the buildings full of trees. Josh Roger, BP was originally Anglo-Persian oil company, hence why the AIOC, Anglo-Iranian oil company, was kicked out by Mossad in 1952. Sorry, that was difficult to read. Sorry, I've got really small text on this laptop as well. I need to make that a bit bigger. Privatised grid has made 9 billion in shareholders so far. Oh my god. I share your anger is the only hope of the next G. Well, we're going to come on to this because someone asked in the chat about Labour's stance on these new oil licenses, and obviously they've said already that there are going to be no new oil licenses. And Russian Cheshire made a point yesterday on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called now. Not that I went on it yesterday, I just saw someone repeat this because yesterday was boycott Twitter day, so that was fine because I wasn't going to use it anyway. It's just doom scrolling. It's just doom scrolling at this point. But yeah, he made this point out. He said if Labour say now that they're going to cancel all these contracts, no one will put money into them. However, if they do that, they're playing into Rishi Sunak's hands. He's going to go, oh, well, we want to revive the economy, but Labour won't let us. So Labour are in a bind, and this is probably the only reason why Rishi Sunak is doing this. He doesn't care, he's got enough money, he doesn't really need it. He's not, I'll say he's in the pocket of these big companies. I mean, at the end of the day, he could just cut his losses and head off and sit on a beach for the rest of his life that he owns. He could just buy beaches every day for the rest of his life. He still wouldn't run out of money. He's got over £700 million. But as a strategy for getting people not to vote Labour in the next election, to put the fear of God in them, the fear of Labour, which is all they can rely on now. It's like, yeah, you think we're bad? Look how bad these guys are. It'll be quite an effective way of doing it, I fear. And that's why Labour have got to keep their powder dry. And I hate it. Cards on the table, guys. I hate it. I wish that Labour could just say, oi, Tories, pack it in, sort it out. We're not happy with this. And when we're in charge, we're going to get rid of all of the oil licenses. They can't. Maybe they will. I hope they will. I am the same way that I hope that they move towards PR, hope that they move towards closer ties with the EU, building up to the 2029 election, which I hope will be run on things like PR, on the EU, on just getting rid of all these disgusting, dirty fossil fuel companies that have spent billions twisting your racist nan's mind for the last 30, 40 years that climate change isn't something that we really need to be concerned about. The troglodyte moon cow from the depths of hell that we call Andrew Neil. He looks like a big blob of suet pudding that's been rolled in iron filings. He announced yesterday or the day before that 1.5 degrees of heating. That any human can withstand that, which is why I really want us to stop using that as a frame of reference when we're talking about the climate. It's not just 1.5 degrees of warming. It's 1.5 degrees of warming everywhere on the planet. Okay, every bit of land on the planet, or the sea of the planet, like the surface of the planet is going up by that much. When you think about how big the planet is, the amount of energy in order to achieve that is the equivalent to over 25 billion nuclear bombs. The heat from 25 billion nuclear bombs. That's the stat that we should be using. I think it's 27 actually. It's a lot. It's billions and billions of nuclear explosions. And that's the energy that we have put into this system. And we are trapping in the system now because the heat from the sun can no longer escape as effectively as it used to, because we have filled the atmosphere up with twice as much CO2 as was there previously. That's the problem. So anyway, I've only got 4 minutes left. I might go on a bit longer because obviously I was a bit late coming on today. I had to reset my computer, which is always fun. It seems to be I'm looking at the stream. It seems to be okay at the moment. UK proves that state-run businesses can be massively profitable. It just isn't the British government that owns them, says William Hawkins. You're absolutely right. And Paul says, if you've not seen it, watch Al Murray's sketch about countries, comment about naming the Middle East countries. Should have just called them Shell, BP, etc. Truth in comedy. Well, yeah, I mean, look at Kuwait, Qatar. But I mean, Kuwait was literally drawn around a gas field. Which is why, or an oil field, sorry, which is why it's got straight lines in the borders. It was just like, yeah. And whichever tribe happened to be in that area at the time, you're suddenly Kuwaiti, and they were like, oh really, okay. Because the tribals obviously, the people, the tribes, they migrated around the peninsula depending on the weather. But then Britain turned up with a map, said, you stay here, you stay there, you're an Emirati now, you're a Qatari, you're a Bahraini. Yeah, brilliant. Well done, Britain. Hundreds of thousands of fish around the seas in South America washed up dead because of ocean warming this year. Yeah, ocean warming, another massive problem. So if you have a glass of water and you heat it up, the actual volume that the water takes up increases. The molecules, they spread out a little tiny bit in a glass of water. On an ocean scale, it goes quite a lot. So it's one of the reasons why we will have more and more floods in the future. Global warming causes oceans to rise, and not just because glaciers and the ice caps in Greenland are melting, but also because, the water's getting hotter. So obviously it's increasing and in size, in actual volume. And also, this is killing fish. The fish are very, very sensitive to changes in the ocean temperature and the salinity of the water, and that's another problem. If the water's not salty enough, a lot of fish are going to die. if the water's got too much sulfur in it, if the water's got too much carbon dioxide in it, there's various things, oxygen even. If anyone has ever owned fish, they'll tell you they are quite fussy about the state of the water in which they live, and if you don't keep it exactly right, they start floating on the top of the water, dead. We shouldn't focus on individual events, says Gary Arnold. 31 Blaze says, it's terrifying finding out the sea temperature rise. We're bloody lucky so far the heat capacity of water saved air temperatures from rising much faster, but it's dire news for anything that lives in it, which is, nearly all of life on this planet lives in water. It's a smaller percentage that live in the air. Why did the UK create a windfall tax on energy companies only to apply to renewables? Because the Tories are in the pockets of fossil fuel companies. Absolutely, Lee Corn. They are in the pockets of extinctionists. Extinctionists, people who are accelerating the end of the human race. And not just humans, by the way, but like all animals, like as many animals as they can possibly destroy, they want them destroyed. They want their grandchildren, I assume, to be kings and queens of the ashes of what's left. But if we enter a situation in which we cannot physically make enough food for people to live on this planet because we have irreparably changed the climate that much, and don't forget, nearly every single civilization that has ever collapsed in the history of the world, climate change played a part in it. And I don't mean globally, I mean like a local change in the environment was what led the Mayans to wipe themselves out. It's what led the people of Easter Island, Rapa Nui, to wipe themselves out. They were going great, they knocked down all the trees, suddenly the climate changed because they didn't have any trees. Civilization, as we know it, collapsed. Look at Iceland. Iceland's a really good example. They were hoping to have massive big colonies there. They thought it was great, the ground was really fertile. Yeah, for one season. And then after that, all the nutrients were gone. Obviously, it's a volcanic island, and the civilization of Iceland, the Viking civilization, the first Viking civilization, collapsed. Climate change. You change the environment, you change the situation in which you live, and bad things happen when you do that. Right, it is now 10 o'clock in the UK, but I haven't mentioned Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been indicted. He's got another 4 charges now, and these are related to his basically the January the 6th insurrection. Interestingly, he doesn't seem to have been done for causing January the 6th, and I can see how that could be difficult to prove in the court of law. He's been done for things that they can prove that he did, like he lied about the election, and that's fine in terms of if he thought it was true, then it's protected under free speech, it's protected under the First Amendment. However, they have seemingly got, Jack Smith and his team, seemingly have affidavits from various people in the Trump camp who say he knew it was a lie. And that's where the law steps in and says, oh, so you knew you were lying and you told these lies anyway. Also, there's this issue with these fake electors, these people who Trump sent in to vote, well, was planning to send in to vote on his behalf, who were not actual electors. And the idea was that they were going to start a debate whether they should listen to the electors that came from the actual results of the election, or whether they should listen to these fake electors instead. And obviously there's a lot of criminality surrounding Trump, and we still have one big thing left to go. We've got 3 indictments now, one for the porn star hush money, one for the January 6th attack. The big one is going to be the documents, because there's over 30 charges there, 36 charges or something, and they seem to have impugned rights on all of it. They've got CCTV footage, they've got recordings, they've got all the evidence they need. He knew that he shouldn't have those documents, and he basically blocked the Justice Department from investigating. Very, very naughty. And then there's the last one, which is the Georgia election, in which he called up the governor of Georgia and asked specifically for, 11,742 votes or whatever it was, and it was just like one more than he needed to win the election in Georgia. And he said he wanted him to find those things. And we've got a recording of that conversation as well. I've gone bang to rights on that. We don't have a date for that because he hasn't been indicted for it yet, but he will be. And then next year should be quite interesting because he's going to have to slot in not just those cases, but also the E. Jean Carroll defamation lawsuit that she's brought against him after the original lawsuit, which proved beyond reasonable doubt, is it? Or the preponderance of evidence, I think, is the phrase for a civil suit, that he did in fact sexually assault her. And then he made fun of the fact that judgment was put down. And he's going to court again, basically for defamation this time, for what he said about E. Jean Carroll. So yeah, he's going to have fun next year. Unfortunately, when Trump said that he could shoot someone dead on the corner of Fifth Avenue, or whatever his expression was, that he could get away with it, it stands true. I mean, there's still the vast majority of Republican voters in America still stand by their man, even though their man is a wrong one. He's a clear criminal, crime lord, mafia boss. Well, they love him because, I don't know, they're so pathetic. They need a horrible, tyrannical, mafiosi daddy figure to suck up to. I don't know the mentality of it. It stinks. You get people who are nominally intelligent, well educated, went to college and stuff, and they think that Trump is a good guy and he's on their side, and the government's trying to get them and Trump's in their way. They're trying to get you, I'm just standing in their way, and they believe it. And it's heartbreaking. It really is. It's heartbreaking. We live in an age where we have more information, more access to information than ever before in the history of humanity. We have literacy rates up the kazooie, and everyone has a smartphone on which they can literally read every document that's ever been written by anyone of any note at any time in history that we still have available to us. And yet, instead of using these powerful devices to supercharge our knowledge of the world, we have retreated. It's almost like the paradox of choice. When you've got too many choices on Netflix, you can't decide. It'd be better if you just had like 2 choices and then it's easier to decide. I think it's a bit like that. There's so many things to learn about. So let's learn about nothing and believe what we're told by tyrants and demagogues. Here's the world in which we live. Trump Furor, says Sean Cran. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I'm sorry that this broadcast has been a little bit choppy. I can see that it's dropped a bunch of frames there. Hopefully you've been able to follow the conversation as best you can. I'm actually there's 2 different internet connections where I am, so I'm going to try the other one on Friday, and hopefully that will be a bit better. Okay, so I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Phil Morehouse tomorrow morning at 9:30 for the next morning brew, and he'll be broadcasting from home, so hopefully you won't have any technical problems. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks to all the YouTube members and the patrons who allow this channel to happen. And talking of you people, the people who give a little bit each month for this channel, for me and Phil and others who feature on it, we are doing an event, me and Phil are doing an event in Liverpool on the October the 9th, so I'm letting you know about it now. It's going to be free to go at the moment, but we might have to see how much interest there is in it. But I'm going to make sure that anyone, if we do charge to go in, because we're having to pay for venue hire, we're going to make sure that anyone who is a member of this channel or a patron will get in for free. It's going to be in Liverpool during the Labour Party conference. We're actually doing 2 talks. We're doing one in the conference itself, which you won't be able to go to unless you have a conference pass. And then we're doing another one, which is going to be on the Monday night on the 9th of October in the Camp and Furnace venue in Liverpool in the Baltic Triangle. And it's going to be me, Phil, Femi and Supertansky, and we're going to be talking about social media, Labour, where it could be doing things better, how we did what we did, and we're going to be having drinks in the Camp and Furnace afterwards. They're going to be opening the bar for us. They're not usually open on Mondays, but I know the owners, so So I'll be doing more advertising about that closer to the time, but just so you know, if you are a patron, if you are a YouTube member, you will get into that event for free. So yeah, join us. It won't work out cheaper, probably, I don't know, maybe. But also, your support is absolutely crucial for us to be able to put on events like this and to keep the channel going. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll leave you in the capable hands of James O'Brien now. I guess you're going to go over to LBC to hear what he's got to say about Rishi Sunak, Donald Trump, and all this absolute nonsense which has horrifically become our lives, hasn't it, over the last few years. I didn't used to care that much about politics. My God. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.